Alright, I'm doing another recording. Um, I want to preempt this by saying if you are a bioessentialist, please click away now. This video is probably just going to be upsetting for you, and I'd rather not cause an argument. Uh, that being said, I want to talk a little bit about my upbringing. Um, in particular, gender norms and I guess my experience with what is called, I guess, the empathy gap and how it's negatively affected my ability to trust others. So, TLDR, grew up with a twin sister. Yes, I have a twin sister. Um, Growing up, we did basically everything together. Um, Mostly because of the fact that our family didn't have the time or money to like let us do things separately. But yeah, so basically, I went to dance classes with her. She went to martial arts with me. Um, Played with her dolls. She played with my Legos. Yeah. Side note: um, if you know Secret Agent Barbie, Loki, ball knowledge, that shit's a banger. Um, but yeah, so grew up in a typical Eastern European household, which I guess by Western standards is like kind of conservative. So very early on, there were obvious like gender expectations and privileges, responsibilities that only were exacerbated as we got older. So, for example, my sister wasn't allowed to go out at night on her own, even though we lived in like an elderly suburb. Like, it was probably as safe as you could possibly get. I would always have to accompany her if she needed to go out. Um, she always had to be home earlier. Uh, Whenever my mom was cooking, she was the one who had to help. Same with cleaning. Um, on the other hand, if my dad was working on the car or doing yard work, I was the one who had to go out. Um, if he was working on the roof, it would be me. Um, One thing that's a little bit more of a pain point personally is whenever me and my sister got into an argument, regardless of what had happened, um, I was always the aggressor. So even if she started it, it was always my fault. Um, since she was a girl, she could hit me and I couldn't hit her back. Um, Things like that. Um, and obviously, because we're twins, we always felt like we should get treated the same. Um, like, I remember when we were like super young, whenever for like dessert we would get like ice cream and shit, we would spend like absurd amounts of time like measuring to make sure that it was exactly equal so that neither of us got more or less. Um, so obviously all that like gender bullshit felt super fucking unfair. And as a result, growing up, both my sister and I were broadly not fans of gender norms and expectations. Um, so, personally, I prefer to treat people as individuals, and I would like to be treated that way. Um, I hope that sounds like a reasonable thing, but in my experience, that is apparently a very hard ask. Uh, yeah. As a disclaimer, I am going to be speaking from the male perspective here, because obviously that's my experience. Again, I want to reiterate, I have a twin sister. Uh, I saw all the shit women have to deal with, get like second hand, I guess. So I don't want this to turn into like a pissing contest about who has it worse. I'm kind of just ranting, trying to express frustration with my like personal experience. Um, so yeah, there's so personal experience. There is a lot of context, so please bear with me. Um, TLDR, I mostly interact with women. Um, so I was never very good at making friends. My sister was better at it. As a result, when I was growing up, I would often just hang around with her friends. As a result, it's easier for me to talk with women, mostly because I like I interact with them similar as I would my sister, and not like as a romantic interest, which apparently, from what they told me at least, is how most guys interact with them. I don't know. I'm a guy, so no idea. Uh, I have had guy friends before, but ultimately those friendships don't really last. Uh, Mostly because I have uh, over the years I have developed kind of this like maladaptive behavior that I know is bad, but I cannot fucking get over it no matter what I do. Behavior of ghosting people. Um, Ultimately, when I ghost people, women seem to reach out first more often than not. So obviously, those connections kind of last. Whereas men, in my experience, tend to be avoidant, similar to myself. So once I ghost, they never respond again, and so the friendship obviously dies off. All that is to say, I am surrounded by women. Lucky me. Unfortunately, I find it difficult to be close with women, even as friends, because all of the women, well, not all, like, particularly aside from my sister, I guess, the women that I've interacted with all seem to, like, kind of hate men at some, like, deep intrinsic level. Uh, I, Hate is probably the wrong word. It's more like, more just like a bias uh, against men. Like there are two examples in particular that I'm thinking of. So one, I have one friend who is like a feminist and super against gender norms per her words. Was complaining to me about her boyfriend not putting an effort into their relationship. So obviously, I was consoling her about that, uh, but when I dug deeper into like what she actually meant, turns out she was upset that she would make him like handmade gifts, like little trinkets and stuff, and that he wouldn't reciprocate. Mind you, he was like paying for all their dates. He would always pick her up. He would take her home, like all the like traditionally masculine contributions. Um, so he was doing all of that shit, right? Uh, and when I pressed her on why she didn't consider those as contributions, her response was literally, well, I think men owe it to women as reparations for patriarchy. So, reparations from the man that she supposedly loves, by the way. Uh, yeah. Anyway, um, another example, this is a different friend, but basically, I was complaining about a negative interaction that I had with a self proclaimed femcel. Uh, I don't remember exactly how we got into this conversation, but like, I was trying to be nice, uh, and TLDR, I got harassed for it, getting told like I belong in a camp and that I should off myself, and that like men are subhuman, blah blah blah, all that shit. Anyway, so when I was talking about it with my friend, and I was like, obviously this upsets me, she ended up defending the femcel because, well, she probably has been traumatized by other men, and so because of that, I should just get over. Because I'm a man, I should just get over it. Because other men are responsible, so somehow I'm also responsible. Uh, yeah, there there are other examples, but those are like the two that come to mind right now. Uh, Broadly, the major themes are kind of like just being like getting dismissed, uh, and like being told that I need to take responsibility for something that I had nothing to do just because of like my genitals. Um, Again, I'm sure men aren't much better in this regard, but like I don't really interact with men. All the men that I had friendships with were pretty avoidant, so never really talked that deeply about any of this shit. So I I can't tell personally. So, but yeah, as you can imagine, it's kind of hard to trust someone knowing that deep down they hate your guts because you were born with the wrong genitals. Uh, but my personal anecdotes aside, there's another recent trend that has been upsetting me related to this. Frankly, it's what prompted this rant. This rant. Um, so, okay, there's a lot of context that I'm going to skip over, just because frankly, it's a huge rabbit hole, and I don't really want to get into it. But generally, the thing that upsets me is the way male eating disorders are just like dismissed or like outright made fun of. Recently, I've been seeing posts everywhere basically joking about how men are now discovering like anaphorums girls discovered in their teens, um, kind of just implying that men with eating disorders didn't exist until looks maxing became mainstream. And now that they do exist, it's actually just funny and unserious because some loser decided to call it some goofy shit like starve maxing. Um, yeah, I'm gonna skip a lot more context again, but yeah, believe it or not, men have had eating disorders for a long time. Um, I was actually on those forums, uh, probably before most of the people posting now could even speak. Um, yeah, I've seen the forum posts, I've seen the YouTube videos, I've done the diet hacks. Um, Obviously, never commented or any of that shit, but just because I didn't comment doesn't mean I wasn't fucking there. Um, Not that anyone particularly cared back then, but now men with eating disorders is mainstream, and it's still just the butt of a joke. Because obviously only women can have real eating disorders, men just starve max. Uh, yeah. Anyway, I'm rambling too much. TLDR, fuck gender stereotypes, fuck gender norms. I'm sick of that shit, and I am even more sick of people telling me they feel the same way, only to discover that they only feel that way if it negatively affects them.